my name is Jade, and today I'm going to be going over the 25 books I'd like to read in 2025. I'm gonna be real with you, I'm a little tired and I've been talking a lot. I just did 2 videos for my newsletter. If you don't know, I'm a cozy political fantasy writer. My first book, The Solstice Court, came out this year, and I have a seasonal newsletter that comes out every solstice and equinox. So that's summer and winter solstice and spring and autumn equinox. My winter solstice newsletter comes out on the 21st of December, so I had to get that all ready, and I filmed 2 videos, all of the writing for it, compiled a whole bunch of pictures. I have 2 first looks at my chapters for book 2. I had to compile a lot. I'm a little strung out, and I was looking at all of the different videos I need to film by the end of the year. This one seemed right, where I was like, yes, I just want to talk about books I want to read. I don't want to think. No thoughts involved in this video. I want to list off books that make me feel good, and I haven't even read them yet. So these are the 25 books that I am very much so looking forward to in the next year. They aren't new releases, that's a different video. Today we're just looking at books that have caught my interest, are high on my radar, and my priority list. Because there's 25 of them, I decided to break this down to my top 5. So these are my 5-star predictions, the books that I think I will give 5 stars. I did this last year. I have an update for that down below, but you shouldn't click on that. Focus on the future, where I plan on completing my goals. Then we have 15 books that I'm just really excited for and are high on my anticipation list. And then I have 5 books that are my at-risk books. These are not books I'm not at risk of reading, but I'm at risk of disliking. So opposite to the 5 stars, these last 5 books that I'm going to talk about are books that I think I might be making a mistake in reading, I might not like, but I'm really interested in trying them anyway. Let's go ahead and get into it. First, let's go into my 5-star predictions. The first book is A Sorceress Comes to Call. This is by T. Kingfisher, who's an auto-buy author for me. Right now, this book is sitting at a 4.13 on Goodreads, but I really couldn't care less. This could be sitting at a 1 star on Goodreads, and I would trust T. Kingfisher to give me a book I'm going to enjoy. This one says, it's a dark retelling of Brothers Grimm's Goose Girl, rife with secrets, murder, and forbidden magic. Cordelia knows her mother is unusual. Their house doesn't have any doors between rooms, and her mother doesn't allow Cordelia to have a single friend, unless you count Falada, her mother's beautiful white horse. The only time Cordelia feels truly free is on her daily rides with him, but more than simple eccentricities set her mother apart. Other mothers don't force their daughters to be silent and motionless for hours, some days on end. Other mothers aren't sorcerers. I have to say, there is a very specific type of unease I feel at a house with no doors, because like there's a privacy in that and a power struggle. The child psychologist in me, the one that studied family dynamics, is on this book. Like, T. Kingfisher is going to be so supremely good at writing this because she knows exactly how to pinpoint a really specific feeling and just pull at the thread and get all of your emotions out. I'm freaking ready for this. I think that this might be even my favorite book of the year. I might pick it up first in 2025. I don't know. I don't know if I want to savor it, if I want to wait, if I'll be jinxing myself. All I know is it's going on my 5-star prediction list. Next is Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. I just finished by the skin of my teeth. I just finished in time Emily Wilde's Map to the Other Worlds, Other Lands, sure. And I'm ready for the 3rd installment. I love this series. It's cozy, it's warm, it's fuzzy. It doesn't come out until February, so it's also going to be on my anticipated reads list. I already pre-ordered it. I also want this cover. I don't like the other covers. If you disagree, let me know, but I think that these are so far superior from the other covers. I don't like this cover. I like this cover. So I bought the physical copy of the 2nd book thinking it was going to be easy to find the first that looked like this. Not the case. I'm digressing though. I don't want to give anything away for the 3rd book or the 2nd book, so I'll just say Emily Wilde studies fairies. So she goes about and she studies different types of fairies, and she's putting together stories, or she has an encyclopedia where she has different facts. She creates a map in the 2nd book, and she's just putting all of this information together. Wendell is one of her colleagues at the college where she works and gets funding and grants to go on these missions, and Wendell is a very fun being that it took me a while to warm up to, but I really enjoy him, and I'm very excited to see where this story is gonna go, because like the end of book 2 really sets you up to know that book 3 is gonna be a little different. We are diverging from the path. The 3rd book on my 5-star prediction list is The Warm Hands of Ghosts, and this is by Catherine Arden. Catherine Arden wrote one of my favorite series, The Bear and the Nightingale. It was cozy, it was cold, it had fantastical elements to it, also like with a bitter aftertaste. She didn't write like a dark fantasy, but it wasn't light either. It was dusk. It felt like a place where lots of magical things could happen, but they weren't necessarily good or evil. They sat in that middle ground. The romance was like not the core of the plot. It was perfect. I love that series. It hurt and it hit at just the right moments. The Warm Hands of Ghosts is the follow-up to that, and I don't know how I'm going to react, but I know that Catherine Arden has it in her, so I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt here, and I'm going to say that this is going to be fantastic. Part of the description says, during the Great War, a combat nurse searches for her brother, believed dead in the trenches despite eerie signs that suggest otherwise, in a hauntingly beautiful historical novel with a speculative twist. This is going to sound ridiculous. I literally wrote a book where there's two kingdoms at war. I'm not a big war person. Like, I don't really like reading books about wars. They don't grasp me. I feel like she's gonna grasp me on this one. I feel like I'm going to get grasped and just be swept in. She's gonna pull at the heartstrings, but she's also going to just make it beautiful. The next book on my list, I'm a little surprised at, but I've gotten enough people that like, I really trust their opinions to tell me I'm going to love this, and so I'm just gonna kind of go with it. The next book I'm putting on my 5-star prediction is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I've had so many people be like, have you read this? Are you gonna read this? This is so up your alley. I need to know. I need to know about it. Apparently it's like a cozy murder mystery, but a fantasy book. I am really taking like a leap of faith here. We're gonna give this a shot. The Tainted Cup, it says, in Dartana's most opulent mansion, a high imperial officer lies dead, killed to all appearances when a tree spontaneously erupted from his body, as one does. And then I'm gonna skip a little bit. We're just getting artsy with the language here. Called in to investigate this mystery is Anna Dalbara, an investigator whose reputation for brilliance is matched only by her eccentricities. Love eccentricities, love detectives. Like, I was Sherlocked, okay? To be as cringy as possible, I was Sherlocked. This is how they think they're gonna get me, and they might be very well right. At her side is her new assistant, a Watson Dinonius Cole. Din is an engraver, magically altered to possess a perfect memory. His job is to observe and report, and act as his superior's eyes and ears, quite literally, as among Anna's quirks are her insistence on wearing a blindfold at all times. What? That is a bonkers quirk to have, and her refusal to step outside the walls of her home. She's wearing a blindfold in her home, and she's going to solve a murder mystery in a fantasy world that's in an imperial palace. What are we doing here? It's got a very high rating for how many ratings it has, and I'm believing my friends here. Okay, my battery died. That is my 4th battery today. That's how much I filmed for my newsletter. No, I think it's gonna be weird, but I think it's gonna be a 5-star. I think it's gonna be a weird 5-star. My final 5-star prediction is a bit of a cheat, but I can't help it. There are 3 books where I will drop anything, and I brought this up last year. Alas, I did not get any of these books, but I'm putting them here again because it's imperative that you all know that none of these books matter if Silverborn by Jessica Townsend, Electo by Tamsin Muir, or The Lord of Demons by Evan Winter comes out. Like, none of the books on this list matter. I will drop anything. All 3 of those should be 5 stars. However, only one of them has a release date and a cover. So I'm going with my final 5-star prediction being Silverborn by Jessica Townsend. This is the 4th book in the Nevermore series. I adore Nevermore. It's a middle grade series. Do not let that prevent you from reading absolute gold. It is got so much heart, so much soul. It's so sweet. I'm in love with Jupiter North. I hope it actually comes out when it says it's going to. It says it's going to come out in June. So we still have a long ways to go, but it has to be on my 5-star prediction list. But I'm not putting the other 2 on there because like, at this point, I have trust issues. I guess I could say what Nevermore is about, and I haven't said so in such a long time because the books haven't come out in such a long time. A girl is growing up with her parents. They're very unkind to her, and she's known to be like kind of an unlucky child. I don't remember the exact terminology. It's been a few years, Jessica, and they don't treat her well. Jupiter North sweeps in because of some sort of circumstance and puts her into this world where she learns a little bit about magic. There's quirks, there's family dynamics, a gigantic cat, a mythical hotel, and she does trials to get into an academy where she can learn about wonder, which is a type of magic. It's so good. She grows up as the series goes. So we're doing it HP style where she starts young and she gets older and older and older, but instead it has queer representation, all-inclusive love, platonic love, familial love, love all around, love abound, as well as some really hard-hitting questions and morality experiments. And I actually feel worry. I'm worried with where these books left off. I don't know how Morgan is doing right now, and Silverborn is supposed to be coming out soon. So my hope is that I can tell you my 5-star thoughts about it most likely in July. Moving on to the next. This one just seems really cool. It's time-traveling romance and a spy thriller, which I didn't think I was into. And then I read How You Lose the Time War, and I'm like, no, this might be something I'm very, very into. It also says in the synopsis that it's a workplace comedy, and I feel like this is just going to jive with me. I think that we're going to get along, and I think it's gonna be fun, but it also has a pretty low rating, a 3.6, but it also won the Goodreads Choice Awards. I don't know. I'm really surprised. I'm surprised at that. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. People were not really talking about it, but I kept on seeing it mentioned. The synopsis says, in the near future, a civil servant is offered the salary of her dream and is told shortly afterward what project she'll be working on. A recent established government ministry is gathering expats from across history to establish whether time travel is feasible for the body, but also for the fabric of space-time. I get like the basic gist of it, and I don't want to know more, so that's all you're getting, because I don't want to know more. They've said enough. I'm in. I'm interested. After that, I have this book physically. This is Goddess of the River by Vaishnavi Patel. This is an absolutely gorgeous edition. I got this through Illumicrate. Inside we have end paper art, like holy guacamole. As soon as I got it, I was interested in it. I just haven't gotten around to it, but I think that this is going to be the year. And I did actually read quite a few more physical books this past year than I thought I would. A lot from the library, but also physical copies. So I'd like to keep that momentum up. But this says that it's a powerful reimagining of the story of Ganga, sorry if I mispronouncing that, goddess of the river, and her doomed mortal son. This is also the author of Kaikeyi, another book I'm very interested in reading, but this one, I liked the mother-son dynamic. It says Ganga, joyful goddess of the river, serves as a caretaker for the mischievous godlings who roam her banks. But when their antics incur the wrath of a powerful sage, Ganga is cursed to become mortal, bound to her human form until she fulfills the obligations of the curse. Though she knows nothing of mortal life, Ganga weds a king and becomes a queen, determined to regain her freedom no matter the cost. But in a cruel turn of fate, just as she is freed of her bindings, she is forced to leave her son behind. This is a concept I really want to explore. The next is Lucy Undying. I have FOMO. Kirsten White and I, hit or miss. I never know. I never know if I'm going to like her or not, but I have been told that I will love this and warned that the POV switches are a little jarring at first, but that everyone who read it, despite those POV switches, really ended up enjoying it. You get Lucy, who I believe that she is undying. She is a vampire because she looks hot in the picture, so she's probably not a zombie. She is a vampire that is telling her story while we also read her journal entries, and then there's a third perspective. So we're getting 2 Lucy POVs, before and after vampirism and someone else's perspective. I think I can manage. It says, in this epic and seductive gothic fantasy, a vampire escapes the thralls of Dracula and embarks on her own search for self-discovery and true love. Her name was written in the pages of someone else's story. Lucy was one of Dracula's first victims, but her death was only the beginning. Lucy rose from the grave a vampire and has spent her immortal life trying to escape from Dracula's clutches and trying to discover who she really is and what she truly wants. That sounds really cool and interesting and gothic. I'm willing to try. I'm willing to be undying with Lucy. Okay, next. The God of the Woods. This sounds really cool. A lot of people have said it's slow. I don't mind a slow story as long as the characters are there. The dynamics between them are interesting. I've always liked horror movies. I'm recently figuring out that I also like horror books. Over the past few years, I've been really figuring that out as I read more and more of them, and I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner, but it's finally occurred to me now that I do enjoy them. And this takes place at a summer camp. I've been not only a summer camp counselor, I have owned and ran a summer camp, so there's some nostalgia here with that as well. Early morning, August 1975, a camp counselor discovers an empty bunk. Its occupant, Barbara Van Laar, has gone missing. Barbara isn't just any 13-year-old girl. She's the daughter of the family that owns the summer camp and employs most of the region's residents. This isn't the first time a Van Laar child has disappeared. Barbara's older brother brother similarly vanished 14 years ago, never to be found. As a panic search begins, a thrilling drama unfolds, chasing down the layered secrets of the Van Laar family, and the blue-collar community works in its shadows. Sounds good. Also, I saw on Goodreads that it's listed as like an audiobook, so I'm guessing maybe it's a good audiobook. If you have listened to the audiobook, let me know how you like it, because I might go that way with it. Input, please. The next book I also own physically is The Hedge Witch of Fox Hall. This is by Anna Bright, and it is a shiny cover, but I think it does work for this book. I'm a Matt fan, specifically I think because I film. I wonder if I would still only like Matt books if I didn't have a booktube channel. Let me know what you like down below, but I think that this is just such a gorgeous cover that I wouldn't care. I did end up picking this up on my vacation. I read the first 2 chapters and was smitten. I really want to give this its time and its due. It says that it's a standalone as well, and you don't get enough standalone fantasy novels, do you? It can never just start and stop with one book. I'm really excited to have like a cozy fantasy novel where it begins and ends here. It says, in this gorgeous standalone fantasy romance, a rebellious witch undertakes a last-ditch quest to restore magic to medieval Wales. Oh, I also love a Welsh story. Wales just does something with mythology that's just gorgeous. As 2 princes vie for her heart, her being the rebellious witch happened before my aside. Fionn is the last hedge witch in Fox Hall. To work her magic, she takes only what nature can spare, unlike the witches of the powerful Fox Hall Coven, who sacrifice whole forests to fuel their spells. That's bad witchcraft right there. You can't be sacrificing an entire forest. But across the warring kingdom of Wales, all magic is fading. Even the dragons have vanished. Dragons, you say? There is a dragon in this little corner. I might read this during Draconathon. Myself and my friend Soleil host a dragon-based readathon where we read just draconic books for an entire month. We have a Discord and Instagram and an ongoing Fable account. So even when we're not hosting Draconathon, we have the Fable account where we read dragon books every 2 months. This sounds really good. It's got dragons in it. It's cozy. I really was, again, smitten by the first chapter that I read, and it made me end up picking it up and buying it. So very excited for that. The next... I made this list before a development occurred. Let's go ahead and talk about it. I have The Adventures of Mina al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This book was on my 2024 list. It was so big. At the end of the year, when I had my panic video in which I went through my 2024 list and realized I wasn't even getting 60% of the books that I wanted to read read, I didn't put this on my end of the year list because it's big. It's massive. I'm like 40% of the way through right now, and I might finish it this year. I was supposed to be reading Bride. I picked this up on a whim as I was going to bed, and I kind of got hooked, and now I might finish this before the end of the year. So if you don't know, The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi is an adult pirate story. She's getting the crew back together for one last heist. It's got really good like banter. The atmosphere is fantastic. I really like Amina as a main character, kind of like this gruff, older, bigger, stronger woman. I love her personality, and I love like how tough she is. She is on a last mission. One of her shipmates from a long time ago, before she retired, had a child, and that child got kidnapped. Due to a lot of different circumstances, she is now being tasked with going to find this missing child, and they're sailing the seas in order to get this child back. It's been really entertaining and really fun, and I've been kind of flying through it. It was a whim, and it's whimming. But if I don't finish it, it'll be my first book completed in 2025, and it'll still count. I'm cheating the system. I'm double dipping. The next book on my list is A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. This is by T. Kingfisher, and A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking follows a 14-year-old Mona who isn't like the other wizards charged with defending the city. She can't control lightning or speak to water. Her familiar is a sourdough starter, and her magic only works on bread. It sounds adorable, just like exactly what T. Kingfisher would write, and I just hadn't gotten to it yet because I was reading every other T. Kingfisher book, so we're here now, and it's on the list. The next book on my list is Silver in the Wind. This is a duology, but I believe that they are both short stories or a novella. The first book is only 114 pages, it says, so I'll probably read the duology together. I've always seen the cover, been drawn to it, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. Because it's so short, I always think I'm going to get to it or can get to it, and then I never do. So I'm putting it on my list to give it a little bit more of a push forward. There is a wild man who lives in the deep quiet of the Green Hollow, and he listens to the wood. Tobias, tethered to the forest, Taurus, does not dwell on his past life, but he lives a perfectly unremarkable existence with his cottage, his cat, and his dryads. God, that sounds nice. If all of us could just be Tobias. When Green Hollow Hall acquires a handsome, intensely curious new owner in Henry Silver, is this queer? I didn't even know going in. Everything changes. Old secrets better left buried are dug up, and Tobias is forced to reckon with his troubled past. Sorry for him, love that. And both the green magic of the wood and the dark things that rest in its heart. It says fantasy novella, LGBTQ, queer, adult, willing, ready, rearing to go. If I knew it was queer at some point, I lost the knowledge, and regained, I'm refueled. I think Emily Tesh also has a new book coming out, and it might be like a full-length book. I remember seeing that name recently when I was looking up books for 2025, which is a different video. Next, we are back on pirates. This is a book I have been looking at for a while now. I saw like 3 of the author's reels, and I was like, I want in on this. I want to be part of this crew. This is Caraway of the Sea by Madeline Burgett. First off, the cover is gorgeous. I want a physical copy of this very, very badly. Second, I know that it has ace representation, which is of a great importance to me. And it's also like queer pirates. Let's butcher the fantasy words in this book I very much so want to read. Caraway Eclair has devoted herself to protecting her brother, serving as the ship's first mate and enforcer, sacrificing nearly all she is to ensure that he becomes the most fearsome pirate captain to ever sail the Carnelian Sea. She realizes too late that the seas have only grown darker and the waves more fearsome. They threaten to pull her under completely and mold her into something akin to a nightmare. Oh my god. Grief puts Caraway and her brother at odds more than ever. When they dock on Isle Dahlia after the devastating storm, Caraway is surrounded by both friends and foe, oftentimes unable to distinguish between the two. But she must navigate a torrent of emotions unlike any she's ever weathered before. Seeking out any and all distractions, she begins to grow dangerously close to a rival captain despite her brother's warnings. I'm going to stop there. Sell me to these seas. I'm a sucker for a sibling dynamic. And this one is a brother-sister. I have a brother. I am the older sister, and all I want for him is for him to be the most fearsome pirate lord who's ever sailed the seas. I just want the best for him, and I understand this feeling, but I also love the fact that like there's tension building between them and that she might be interested in a rival pirate. I want to know more. I've also seen Madeline themselves describe this as like grim, dark, cozy. I get that. T. Kingfisher gets that. I think that that's one of the sweet spots for me, is when you have something gritty, dark, and you're like dealing with these topics that are horrendous and gross, but you find the comfort in that. So it's locked and loaded. Next is Feathers of Dawn by Jess Galaxy. And can I just say, as an author name, Jess Galaxy, it's so cool. But Feathers of Dawn is a dragon book. On my Draconathon Instagram, I found it originally and started following them. This is a cozy queer book about dragons and is perfect for D&D fans who love a good combination of fluff and violence. Way to speak to your audience. After fighting and killing dragons for years, Aesith is finally enjoying an early retirement. But all that changes when a bronze dragon lands in a field in his small village. Aesith is the only dragon knight who can step up to protect Cairn from the wrath of this beast. But in doing so, Aesith is kidnapped by the dragon and brought back to their horde. Okay, from what I know from these gorgeous graphics Jess Galaxy has on their Instagram, which already had sold me, this is queer and romantic. The dragon, I believe, can like shapeshift. I don't know everything though. I'm just picking up a lot of good vibes, and it was an easy one to add to my list. Oh my gosh, the moon is like right outside my window. Like it's just sitting there directly in my face. I don't think I can capture it on camera. I will try. It blew me away. I lost my train of thought. I swear to God, it looked really great in person. Absolutely horrendous footage of the moon. You might be adjusted because I tried to capture a picture of the moon. We'll see if that turned out. Anyway, what's the next book? The next book is another indie author, and this is The Sharp Edge of Fate by T.F. Johnson, labeled as a mystery, romance, fantasy, and fantasy romance. The synopsis goes like this. The belladonna is a shadow, an assassin who leaves purple blackberries on the bodies of her victims. No one knows her name or her face. Piper is desperate to keep it that way. When an assignment goes spectacularly spectacularly wrong, Piper's carefully separated lives begins to converge. Her target becomes a reluctant ally as they search for clues to the disappearance haunting the city of Silversdale. Disappearances that include Piper's close friend. With 2 children in her care and time running out before she is due to deliver on her contract, Piper will soon find she has only scratched the surface of a plot that threatens everything she holds dear. I like the vibes. There's like a murder mystery happening, but she's also an assassin. The next book I also got from the Stuff Your Kindle fantasy event, and that was When Gods Fall by S.E. Beauvais. Sorry in advance. But it says 2 sisters, both destined for greatness. One will rise, one will fall. Got me at siblings once again. In the free folk camp, magic is forbidden and the gods are dead. Also a sucker for dead gods. Alina has lived in the camp all her life, but is fascinated by the old lands and their magic. When her father is injured in a hunting accident, the same magic is his only hope of survival. Alina has no choice but to break free folk law to save him, a crime for which she is swiftly captured. Only her older sister, Cattell, can help her. But Cattell, a free folk huntress, discovers she has magical abilities of her own, and in the camps being marked is a death sentence. This cover also just grabs me. If you haven't noticed, all of these covers have been gorgeous, have been beautiful. It's one of the makings of, am I going to read this book or not? It is a make or break for me. A lot of the time I will pick up a book because of its cover and then I go from there. So I have a very high interest in this book. We are back to vampires with So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. I really liked Such Sharp Teeth from Rachel Harrison, and this book kind of seemed the same vein of like snarky, having an underlying theme, but a really fun and easy story to follow. The synopsis for So Thirsty is: a woman must learn to take life by the throat. Sloane Parker is dreading her birthday. Girl, same. Is Rachel Harrison an Aquarius? I swear, when I was reading Such Sharp Teeth, I was like, this chick is an Aquarius. I'm judging Sloane too quickly. Sorry, let me continue. She doesn't need a reminder of getting older or that she's feeling indifferent about her own life. Her husband surprises her with a birthday party getaway. That's my worst nightmare. Don't even surprise me with a gift. Tell me what the gift is. I love being spoiled for it. Her husband surprises her with a birthday weekend getaway. Not with him, but with Sloane's longtime best friend, troublemaker and extraordinaire Naomi. Sloane anticipates a weekend of wine tasting and cozy robes and strategic avoidance of issues she'd rather not confront. Like her husband's repeated infidelity. That's not me. I don't know nothing about that, but that's terrible. But when they arrive at their rental cottage, it becomes clear Naomi has something else in mind. I don't want to know what Naomi has in mind. I'm not reading any further. Horror, vampires, fantasy, paranormal. I have 2 more books I'm excited for, but I'm getting tired. Like, I feel like I need a nap. I've been filming all day and writing and telling people things about myself, and I am so spent. Would you be upset if I came back to you later? The lighting may change, the outfit might change, but the soul will be brighter because I can feel myself fading. Like, I am looking at this candle and she is low and she is melted and I'm like, same. I also know you can't answer me until later. I'll be back. I'm just so tired. Even not being able to see feels better. Like, I don't want to see. I want to go to bed. I took a nap and it helped greatly. Just a little 30-minute teaser of what's to come because it is now fully nighttime outside. Sorry for the intermission. This is pretty par for the course on my channel though, so if you don't like the intermissions, maybe. Anyway, let's get back. We are really close to the end. Fizzled out really at the dead end of this. The next book is How to Solve Your Own Murder. For fans of Knives Out and the Thursday Murder Club, an enormously fun mystery about a woman who spends her entire life trying to prevent her foretold murder, only to be proven right 6 years later when she is found dead in her sprawling country estate. Now it's up to her great niece to catch the killer. It's 1965, and a teenage Frances Adams is at an English country fair with her 2 best friends. But Frances's night takes a hairpin turn when a fortune teller makes a bone-chilling prediction. One day, Frances will be murdered. Frances spends a lifetime trying to solve the crime that hasn't happened yet, compiling dirt on every person who crosses her path in an effort to prevent her own demise. Until 60 years, not 6, 60. Until 60 years later, when Frances is found murdered like she always said she would be. This is such a funny concept. I mean, obviously Frances being murdered isn't a funny concept, concept, but the idea that it took 60 years, she spent her entire life trying to figure out her murderer. She wasn't murdered for like 60 years. Like, that's a pretty good run. I mean, I'm not saying 60-year-olds should be murdered. I'm just saying, like, that's a good run. I don't want to know more though, so I'm moving on. Next is, oh, I know that this is gonna be a hard-hitting one. This one's gonna mess me up. The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. Seamlessly blending classical horror and dramatic narrative with sharp social commentary, The Only Good Indians follows 4 American Indian men after a disturbing event from their youth puts them in a desperate struggle for their lives. Tracked by an entity bent on revenge, these childhood friends are hopeless as the culture and traditions they left behind catch up to them in a violent and vengeful way. From what I've heard about this, an incredible book and incredibly hard to read. It's horror, it's thriller, it has fantasy elements and indigenous culture. I'm interested in knowing more. Now we're moving into my risky reads, the ones where I'm like, I really want to read these, but I might not like them. The first is the Red Rising series, and the reason why Red Rising is on my list is because it seems right up my alley. It's on the risky side is because people I really trust have said that they've had a hard time getting into it. Like, I have seen a lot of Red Rising fans, but I've also seen a lot of really trusted people not like it or like not get into it very easily. But here's what it's about synopsis wise. Darrow is a Red, a member of the lowest caste in the color-coded society of the future. Like his fellow Reds, he works all day believing that he and his people are making the surface of Mars livable for future generations. Yet he spends his life willingly, knowing that his blood and sweat will one day result in a better world for his children. But Darrow and his kind have been betrayed. Soon he discovers that humanity already reached the surface generations ago. Vast cities and sprawling parks spread across the planet. Darrow, or Darrow, and Reds like him are nothing more than slaves to a decadent ruling class. That sounds really good. I don't know the particulars of what people have struggled with in this book. I think possibly it's Darrow himself, but I'm kind of down for like a dumb MC. If you don't know that about me, hi, welcome to my channel. I kind of like the himbo dumb MC. I mean, Gideon, my sweet baby girl, not the sharpest cookie. We have Tao from Rage of Dragons. He is just like the definition of just a good dumb boy that makes really dumb decisions really quickly. I'm kind of into it. I'm hoping that I like Darrow. I'm hoping that this is a book that I enjoy. It's very large and people's trepidations towards it have made me worried or cautious. If you enjoyed this book or if you think I'll enjoy it, let me know. If you are thinking maybe I should stray away from it, then let me know that as well. It's at the top of my risk list. I think that I'll really like it, but I'm also a little worried. I'm also losing my voice because I've spoken so much today. Moving on. Can't spell treason without T. We're back to pirates, baby. I think this is pirates. It has the word treason in it. That doesn't mean pirate. All Renya and Keontae want is to open a bookshop. It's not pirates. I swear to God, I read this in the bookstore. I almost bought this book physically. Is to open a bookshop that serves tea. Worn wooden floors, plants on every table, firelight drifting between the rafters, all complemented by love and good company. Thing is, Rhea works as one of the queen's private guards, and Keontae is one of the most powerful mages in existence. Leaving their lives isn't so easy. But after an assassin takes Rhea hostage, she decides she's thoroughly done risking her life for a self-centered queen. Meanwhile, Keontae has been waiting for a chance to flee responsibility, all the better that her girlfriend is on board. Together, they settle in Tawny, a town that boasts more dragons than people, and they open the shop of their dreams. This is cozy fantasy. This is lovely. This is light. This is queer. It's giving me a lot of legends and lattes, but I think that it's also got an interesting twist as both main characters are like from these dark and dangerous backgrounds and they're coming together to have this cozy space. Honestly, it sounds the opposite of exciting. It sounds mundane in the lovely way that I like to read sometimes. However, because it has so many things to do with like legends and lattes, I think that it could veer too much into the mundane. There is always that risk with cozy fantasy that it's going to be too cozy and that it's kind of used to prop up the idea of not having a plot, which I'm not saying that this is that. I'm saying I don't know, so I want to read it, but it's a bit of a risk. Next is Hellbent, which was also on my 2024 list. I started to reread Ninth House in preparation for reading Hellbent, and I wasn't as interested or entertained. It might just be because it doesn't have a strong rereadability. A lot of people have told me that they've reread it because they love it so much, so I'm like, wait, what's the sudden disconnect for me? Am I past Hellbent? Am I over it? I'm going to go ahead and not reread Ninth House, and I'm just going to go straight into Hellbent and see how I do. This might be a mistake, it is a risk, but I really just didn't want to reread Ninth House. But I might also kind of like let it go. Let me know if you've read Hellbent and you think that rereading Ninth House would be incredibly beneficial. I do remember the ending of Ninth House. I remember the setup for book 2. Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo is about a girl who goes to an Ivy League academy, and there are different hidden secret societies and they all practice a different type of magic. She is supposed to be kind of patrolling and making sure that these people stay within their magical bounds, like what they're supposed to be doing, and not getting caught. It's very dark. It does have an on-page SA scene. There's also unconsenting drugging that happens. A lot of people have given feedback that they don't like how it was dealt with. It's a heavier book. Next one, Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid writes fantastic stories. She is absolutely fluent in the art of capturing these small moments and just making them feel important and universal. I very much so love everything I read by Taylor Jenkins Reid. However, I picked up Carrie Soto is Back and I wasn't immediately riveted, and I could not care less about tennis. This is a tennis book. However, I don't care very much about surfing or Malibu or Hollywood, and she's written books that I've cared about all of the characters. Can she make me invested in tennis? I really don't know, but I feel like she will surprise me. Okay, we are down to my last book, and this is by another fantastic author that I've loved in the past. They're on my 2025 list, you know, they're in my top 25 books I want to read, but it's Andy Weir's Artemis, and I read The Martian, absolutely obsessed. Project Hail Mary, absolutely obsessed. I have heard not so great things about Artemis. I've heard that it's the weakest of his, and I just read his 2 greatest books. That's a bit rough. I do have it physically. My partner owns it because he's a big Andy Weir fan, and he also thinks I won't like it as much. I'm gonna read it anyway, and the synopsis sounds great. The synopsis is, Jaz Bashara is a criminal. Well, sort of. Life on Artemis, the first and only city on the moon, is tough if you're not a rich tourist or an eccentric billionaire. Oh, so things haven't changed much. So smuggling in the occasional harmless bit of contraband barely counts, right? Not when you've got debts to pay and your job as a porter barely covers the rent. Everything changes when Jaz sees the chance to commit the perfect crime, with a reward too lucrative to turn down. But pulling off the impossible is just the start of her problems, as she learns that she's control of Artemis itself. It sounds really fun, it sounds really cool. Andy Weir has a great concept. I don't know why people don't like it. I don't know. I probably should have read this one first. I should have started here and I would have been fine. That is my 20 and 25 list. Thank you for sticking around for this video. I feel like it kind of got long. Let me know some of the books you are most looking forward to reading this coming year. If any of these books appealed to you, if you got to the end of this video, go ahead and leave a moon emoji, both for Artemis and the hopes that it's good, as well as the lovely moon I saw outside. But whether you do or not, I hope you're enjoying the sun or more stars wherever you are, and until next time, bye!